Hello again, dear Interblops. This is your with an update on the sororal situation. I do beg your pardon for taking a few days to get back at you. It's just been a whirlwind few days. I'll get into a little more detail going forward, but for those just wanting the quick and dirty, I'll get the TLDW out of the way first. That wacky surgery went off without a hitch, and Mom and Dad's only daughter is absolutely crushing it on recovery so far. Thank you all, more than I can say, for your thoughts, prayers, positive energy, and encouragement. Now that we've got our abstract published, I'll give you some timeline. Operation Pulmonary Intrude N313 commenced at roughly 10:30 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday, November 23, 2022. Things were quiet for a while, which we took as a positive sign, given that bad happenings would generate calls or contact with the fam. This turned out to be a good guess, as almost exactly 8 hours later, my sister's husband got a call from the lead surgeon reporting that the surgery was complete and successful, with improved pressure and heart function already apparent. Friends, you can probably imagine what it was like hearing that. This simultaneous rush of jubilation and, at the same time, sudden exhaustion as all this tension just flooded out of me. I'm sure it was much the same for our parents and her husband. One thing we don't know for sure yet is whether they were able to get out all of the blood jerky. We're still keeping fingers crossed on that, since if there's gunk remaining, it is possible she might need further treatment somewhere along the road, like maybe balloon angioplasty, which is a developing route for folks who have inoperable CTEPH, or when PTE surgery is possible and successful, but they can't quite reach some of the more stubborn clots. I suspect that's something we'll have to find out from the lead surgeon or someone else high up the chain, and they've likely been quite busy with the holiday, the weekend, and their other responsibilities. That said, my brother-in-law did see a picture of the removed specimens, and he says it was a lot. Just a grip of old blood jerky what came out of my sister. So, by any means, it is wonderful news. My big sis started to wake up just a skosh past noon on Thanksgiving Day, which is really pretty fast considering PTE patients can stay under for a couple of days. A few hours later, they were able to remove her breathing tube and temporary pacemaker, and by 4 p.m. she was sitting up and able to give us a call. And let me tell you folks, considering everything that happened over the previous 30-odd hours, she sounded good. Definitely a little stoned on pain meds, but very surprisingly strong. Best Thanksgiving ever. As of Friday, she was eating well and taking assisted walks around the ward, and then more good news arrived yesterday when she was transferred out of the ICU 4 days earlier than expected. Just goddamn. Miles to go yet, but so far she's just bodying the rebound process. Today she's having kind of a not fun time because they're having her do lots of walking and just exhausting the shit out of her, but all in the rehab game. And the fact that they find her well enough to march her all over the place is something I certainly find encouraging. And that's pretty much where we're at. Again, we've got a ways left to go, and we're still hoping to eventually learn that all the gunk was extractable and extracted, but she made it. And everything's been going beyond great. It is my honor and privilege to be the kid brother of a certifiable badass, and I could not be more proud of her. Thank you all so much for all your support, kind words, and sending out those good healing vibes. Shoutouts to my brother-in-law for keeping vigil at the hospital, being a rock for her, and keeping us all apprised. To Mom and Dad for helping me hold things down in the Keystone State. To my ever-awesome and supportive family in Florida, to my sister's primary doc for having her back throughout diagnosis and treatment planning, to all the docs and support staff at UCSD, who our patient reports as being super nice and running an S-tier facility, extra special shoutouts to the absolute cardiothoracic ballers there for successfully performing an operation that doesn't even sound possible, and quite likely saving my sister's life. And of course, shoutouts to you, dear viewer. That concludes the core of my update, and if you'd like to tap out here, thank you all for checking in, and all the best to you and yours. If you're up for hanging around just a bit longer, though, I'd like to do a little PSA. Most of you will never suffer or have anyone in your life suffering from CTEPH. That's a good thing. I hope you never do. It is an uncommon condition, with an estimated incidence of 8 to 40 cases per million people out there. However, many docs and researchers in the know do believe it is underdiagnosed. As I mentioned in my previous video, a lot of your GPs, family practice types, and even specialists in unrelated fields don't even know CTEPH is a thing. No shade on them, it just isn't out there very much. The outward symptoms of fatigue and shortness of breath can also be very easily taken as other conditions, like asthma. Luckily, one of my sister's docs was hip to CTEPH, and given her history of clots, pushed for the necessary testing like angiography and cardiac catheterization. It's likely there are a good few people out there who aren't so fortunate, though, and never get the treatment they need because no one knows they need it. If, heaven forbid, you ever do have someone in your life with breathing troubles and fatigue, possibly a fast heartbeat or swollen legs, and no one can figure it out and no conventional treatment seems to help, especially if they have a history of thrombophilia, double especially if they have any history of acute pulmonary embolism, it may be something you want to whisper in a healthcare provider's ear. That's chronic thromboembolic pulmonary hypertension. PSA Point 2. If the fates are unkind, and you or someone you know is diagnosed with CTEPH and you're told it's inoperable, that may not be the final word. It may just mean it's beyond the abilities of your local team, and I can speak from experience on this one. My sister's case was severe, and her blood jerky inconveniently situated at the bottom of her lungs. The nearest hospital that performs PTE said, pressure's too high, clot burden too distal, we can't do it. And no shade on them either. They knew their abilities according to their expertise, specialization, and resources, and made the call accordingly. We were devastated, but then her PCP, bless her, encouraged her to get a second opinion, and her pulmonary hypertension team had her records and imaging sent to 2 other PTE hospitals, both of which said, yeah, we can do this. One of them was UCSD, and since that was an option for her, she entrusted herself to the folks at the top of the field. However, there are definitely people out there who get that first nope and give up there. May you never find yourself in a similar position, and chances are you won't, but if it happens, do get that second opinion. Find out who's in your travel range that has a really good PTE game, hopefully somewhere you'll have insurance coverage, and see about getting them to evaluate the case. There aren't a lot of places out there who can do the procedure to begin with, but they're not all created equal. Anywho, forgive me for preaching a bit there. Odds are, aside from this journey you've been so kind as to share with us, CTEPH will never appear on your radar. It's rare and considered something of an orphan disease. However, again, it is thought to be underdiagnosed, and even when diagnosed, is sometimes deemed inoperable when a medical center with the right expertise would say otherwise. Of course, there are people with CTEPH who, due to surgical inaccessibility, comorbidities, or other contraindications, truly can't undergo PTE. Balloon angioplasty is a relatively young treatment for cases like that, and hopefully has lots of room for growth, refinement, and better results. For now, however, PTE does remain the gold standard. Best outcomes for improved quality and quantity of life, hands down, so it's a shame for anyone who needs it to miss out who doesn't have to. Bottom line. The 5-year survival rate for untreated CTEPH can be anywhere from 40 to 10% depending on severity. Treatment with medication can help, but in bad cases it can only go so far. Without surgical intervention, my sister was given 5 years at most, and we're talking 5 shitty years. It's a killer, and I don't want that to happen to you or yours. So, on the off chance this message finds its way to anyone who can benefit from it, I think it's more than worth the time to put it out there. But I have prattled on long enough. Thank you all again for your thoughts, prayers, encouragement, and simply for listening. Such an outpouring of support, even now that I'm only posting maybe a couple of times a year, was touching and humbling, and I'm extremely grateful. I'll see about popping in with an update around Decemberween or New Year's, and hopefully see you then. But in any case, take care of yourselves and each other, and I wish you all the best. This is signing off.